get.
Welcome back to First Things First. Yahoo NBA senior writer Vincent Goodwill joins us. Vince, good to see you.
Hey, great to be here, guys.
We're fellow Midwesterners.
Yeah,
Detroit,
the three of us. Yeah.
Well, Chris, you're from everywhere.
I'm from everywhere, but mainly the Midwest. You were born in Milwaukee?
Yeah.
All right.
Were you really?
Yeah. You mean Wikipedia?
Glad to have you. I didn't bring up all of our birthplaces. Much has been made of the relationship between Luke Walton and LeBron James. Amid reports, James's associates haven't been happy with Walton as the head coach. But Luke told TMZ, quote, "LeBron and I get along just fine." Vince, do you believe Luke Walton?
I'm sure Luke believes he gets along with LeBron James, but I mean, Chris, you know this from covering LeBron his whole career and covering great players. They challenge their coaches, from Michael to Magic to Isaiah, Larry Bird, all these guys. They challenge their coaches to make them better. And I think Luke is in this terrible position where the team that he came in to coach is not the team that he's coaching. The level of expectations, whenever LeBron comes in at this advanced stage of his career, the expectations ratchet up, and they ratchet up quicker, and there's no more margin for error. And when a great player is no longer ascending, I think that is the toughest point to coach a great player, when his game can no longer overcompensate for where the coach lacks things. And I think that's where Luke is going to basically bear the unfair brunt of all this, probably at the end of the season.
So you're saying LeBron is not the same?
I'm saying we've seen the best of him. I'm saying we've seen.
Still going on.
He just doesn't. He
is on. LeBron James is on the decline.
Yes,
a very slow.
He could be plateauing.
Put like this: Halle Berry's on the decline, but she's still bad. You know, like we're splitting hairs here at this point.
No, but you're right. Jeff Van Gundy used to always say, or still probably does, the toughest time to coach a player is when it's a superstar in decline. Now, I don't think LeBron is. He's not the same. Defensively, he's not what he used to be. And even last year, when everybody was talking about, is this LeBron's best season, because offensively his numbers were through the roof, it wasn't his best season because defensively he was not the same player. I mean, he used to wreak havoc on the court defensively as well as offensively. So you're right. And you're right about Luke. Look, I do think their interpersonal relationship is fine, because as the reports are saying, LeBron's associates, that's how the team knows what LeBron is thinking, is what guys that work with him are saying. LeBron's not going up to the front office, hey, this, and that. So I'm sure his personal relationship with Luke is fine, but you know, I'm glad Luke's getting this chance to finish up the season. I don't think he'll be there next year unless they make some great postseason run, but I'm glad he's getting this full 82.
But Vince, to your point, it's a really good one. Not only is it not the job he was hired necessarily to do, but it's not the team, it's not the management team. Like he's gonna catch all the heat for LeBron's been hurt, Kuz was hurt, Rondo's been hurt twice, Zoe's been hurt twice, right?
And then
the roster is flawed in its composition, right? Like there's a reason they got rid of Michael Beasley, but there's a reason Michael Beasley was in China, you know, a couple years ago, and Lance Stephenson's been on so many different teams, and anyone could look at this roster and say, boy, you're kind of missing the shooting thing, right? Like to play with LeBron, you need shooters. To play in 2019, you need shooters, and yet they didn't do it, and yet he's going to catch.
Here's what it is. I think the worst thing for them was starting off fourth in the West. Like right when LeBron got hurt, 20-9, fourth in the West, beating up Golden State on Christmas Day, then LeBron gets hurt. That ratcheted up the level of expectations again for this young team. Maybe Ball is ready. Maybe Kuzma is ready to be that second guy. And then all of a sudden they have that terrible, 6-12 stretch or 6-11 stretch without LeBron. And all of a sudden people are looking at Luke real funny in the light. And then we see LeBron doing these sort of slide things of, let me go stand next to Rob Pelinka and Magic Johnson in the tunnel while we're losing a game. And it gives off the appearance that LeBron is management, which to some degree he is, and great players are going to be part of management. So I wonder about that.
Do you think, and Doug brought this up earlier in the show, when LeBron was in Miami and he at first was feeling out Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley was very definitive in saying, I'm not about to come back and coach. Eric Spoelstra is our head coach. You need to respect him as that. Do you think it makes a difference to LeBron, to his relationship, his perception of Luke Walton, that he was not hired by Magic and Rob, and that they have not come forth and really solidified their belief in him.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at it, Magic Johnson was at his door at 11:59. And you can't tell me that they didn't have a soup to nuts conversation about every facet of this organization, from the personnel to the coaching staff to the front office structure. LeBron, his talent demands that level of information that you're going to get if he's going to sign with you, and sign with you for 4 years, which gives you a chance to hire and fire coaches, to bring in players on short or long-term contracts, because you have the security of him being there. So yeah, you know that Luke Walton was a topic of conversation, and I think Luke being in Golden State gave at least Magic and Pelinka a feeling that at least he could keep this thing sort of steady and level until they figured something out. Whether it's Brian Shaw or Jason Kidd or Mark Jackson or whoever it is, I think LeBron has reached this stage of his career now where he needs a coach whose stature sort of matches his.
Yeah, he needs a coach he respects. I mean, that's the bottom line. He's your best player. He's going to set the tone. He's got to respect the guy. He likes ex-players, and Luke's an ex-player, but he wasn't that
It's
dog.
different. It's different.
Right, like Ty Lue and Jay Kidd and guys like that.
I agree with, the hard thing in the NBA is, in order to own a locker room, you got to have won a championship. In order to win a championship, you have to own a room, right? It's a vicious cycle. Right. But you mean tell me that Mark Jackson, who can't get a job in this league because nobody thinks he's a particularly good guy to work with, is as a coach. When he's a coach, when he's a commentator, it's different. Right. Those guys get that big chair, and all of a sudden things change. You mean tell me like Mark Jackson or Jason Kidd, guys that have been fired elsewhere and been replaced by people who have done better than they have, that they command more respect from LeBron James' eyes than Luke Walton?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Why not?
Because they haven't been good coaches.
Great players. Mark Jackson was a good coach. Good coach. I'm not saying he was great. He put the defensive philosophy in there at Golden State. They would still to this day credit him for that. Now, offensively, they were different, but they still were winning 50 games. And
the second he walked out the door, they became a championship.
So Steve Kerr is great. I'm giving you that. But Steve Kerr put in that perfect offense. But Mark did a great job with that team. Yeah. Or a good job with that team.
He did a good job.
Second-round playoff team.
With Mark, it was that no one in the organization liked him. No one outside of some of the players liked him.
I agree with you. And the offense. But defensively, he did a good job with that team.
Yeah, because they were awful before.
He gave Steph and Clay, confidence in this league. I think Mark did a good job.
But I mean, there's a reason that Mark hasn't been hired by other people.
It's what you said.
And then Jason Kidd's gotten multiple opportunities, and I keep hearing Jason Kidd. So
I'm telling you,
I'm not saying that you're wrong. You're right. But it's like, wait, there has to be somebody out there who's won something that commands LeBron's respect, that makes sense, because none of these names jump out at me like, well, he's definitely better.
There's only 5 or 6 good coaches in the league anyway, and then there's 5 or 6 really good coaches, 5 or 6 bad coaches, and a bunch of dudes in the middle. And these dudes in the middle need a great player. And Eric Spoelstra was just a guy until 2012, and then he got made, and then he was respected, and now he's one of the good coaches in the league. A lot of times for these coaches, it takes that second job, that third job, to figure out how to navigate the interpersonal relationships.
The good one, though, is that you have to have somebody who management has their back, so that when LeBron James does push, you push back and says, no, he's our guy.
So, yeah, you should be able to be here.
We're going to hear from you a little later in the show, Vince. Don't go anywhere. Coming up, where could Antonio Brown end up next season? That's next on First Things First.